And I'm still debating if we tell him how we first met.
Yeah, I was gonna go into that. We for sure need to.
Oh yeah, we definitely have to tell everyone how we met. And
Yes, I
the
think that's hilarious.
I think
It's so random and awesome at the same time.
yeah, the chances of that are infinitesimally small. But I see that we are live, so welcome everybody to Making Awesome Podcast Season 2, Episode 8. Apparently, it is unacceptable that we are 1 minute late. Oh well.
Apologies, it's my fault. I had to make a coffee.
Well, we didn't want you falling asleep, so
I mean, who needs sleep anymore? That's
no, I don't know
thing,
what sleep is.
thing of the past.
Especially when you're busy. Hey, there's nothing wrong with being busy, right?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Sorry, I should turn around my coffee cup so I can show off the
Oh, there
Thor
you go.
Ragnarok goodness.
There you go. But yeah, as a lot of you know, we got Uncle Jessy here. I mean, I don't know if you need an introduction, but for those that for some reason don't know who you are, tell them who you are.
Yeah, I make stupid videos online about 3D printing, random things, lots of nerdy things, mostly 3D printing things, some video game things. I actually have another video game video coming out in 2 weeks. I'm very excited for. But yeah, just make lots of fun content online these days. Over on the YouTubes primarily is probably where a lot of folks know me from, but I'm pretty much on all of the social medias at this point, including TikTok, which I'm like obsessed with, and I just find absolutely amazing for making and sharing content these days and finding new creators. It's just an amazing curated platform of craziness.
You are doing amazing on TikTok. That is one of those social media platforms I'm like, I just don't understand it.
Okay, let me explain the best way I can of how I approach it, which is if I have a print failure, I whip out my phone, and before cleaning it up, I make a big deal out of it somehow and record it very quick, like 15 seconds, doesn't have to be long, and then just post it. And it's not professionally edited, color graded, sounds good, or anything like that. I mean, it should, but a lot of times the videos that I've had do the best for me are just these really quick videos that I've shot on my phone and use the in-app video editor that they have, and it's some of those have gone like multi-million viewed videos, which is crazy, but it's a fun platform.
We had so we have a couple of actually young people on our team, and they're like, you should get on TikTok because apparently all you have to do is film your print failures and you'll go viral. I'm like, but we don't really have that many print fails, but I guess I can make one happen. I don't know.
I have lots of random little ones that everything, where it's maybe I'm running an Etsy order and something, the extruder jams randomly, or a support fails. I mean, it doesn't have to be print failures, but it's just
fails. Those happen all the dang time, but eventually it finds a way.
But I'm just saying the platform itself is just, I was so anti TikTok. My wife was like huge on TikTok, not like just sitting and watching it for too long of a time. And I was like, man, I don't get it. I don't want to do it. I was like, I find this, whatever. And then I think I started it up last year around this time, and I maybe did one video a month. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to start posting more frequently and just post random videos. And sure enough, it was just like started to get a little bit more movement behind it, and a little bit more and a little bit more. But it's just a fun way. Again, I feel like it's a way that there's zero pressure for me to sit down, compared to the effort that I put into my YouTube videos versus making TikTok videos. Or like on YouTube, I have this weird, not anxiety, but I don't want to over post on my YouTube channel, where if I post more than 2 or 3 videos a week, I'm like, oh, that's too many videos. But on TikTok, it's like, all right, it's 1 a.m. in the morning. Sure, let's post a video. And we've already posted 4 more earlier today. Why not? And it doesn't really matter when you're posting or how much you're posting over there versus on YouTube, which can just be a little bit more finicky, I think.
That's fair.
Into
Yeah,
the weeds.
the YouTube commenters don't let us get away with anything. A
I know.
minute late, and we're getting roasted in the comments already.
And by the way, my favorite is on YouTube. It's like, why are you posting vertical videos on this platform?
Have you seen how YouTube Shorts do? That's why we're doing it.
Holy cow! Sometimes like there's some amazing channels out there that just make ridiculously good YouTube Shorts.
I mean, Mars Gizmo is the big one in our industry, right?
Huge, absolutely huge, absolutely huge.
I heard the guy talk at the 3D. I heard him talk at the 3D printing industry event, and Tegza was there too. Geeky Faye was there. Danny from 3D Printing Tabletop was there, and he told us all that he's going to be moving toward some more long format content, and he is absolutely terrified of what's going to happen, because anytime that we all tend to shift what we do even a little bit, the audiences change drastically.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's opportunity for a lot more growth. And if you're not experimenting and you just stick with the same sort of format and formula, then you're just gonna, I don't know, like you might steadily continue to grow, or maybe, who knows, maybe you'll explode. And I'm completely wrong with this, but I'm a big believer in experimenting and running with things and just trying it out and seeing how it goes. I would very much look forward to him posting longer videos on some of his projects that he posts over there.
I would too, and honestly, he's got such a great setup with the phone, or he's using a camera vertically. I haven't figured out how he's doing it. I assume it's just on the phone, but the audio is so good. The lighting is always consistent. I'm like, man.
You know what's funny is I see his videos and I'm like, and I see other people that are, have similar, really cool looking setups, like backdrops for their prints for these vertical videos. And I'm like, man, I need to make a dedicated space. Like I just need to set up a separate table area just for this and get like a cool wall background. I was like, I'm going to order some of those cool tiles that I see on Amazon, or maybe I'll print some.
Oh yeah. With the multicolored LEDs, the NeoPixel stuff. Yeah. WLED all the way. We are, and Mad Monkey's actually in the chat. Mad Monkey's got a full logo of his that's individually addressable RGB LEDs. So you can do whatever you want with it. And that's an upcoming project for us. But we're going to webhook it so patrons in our Discord can change. And I'll let them know when I'm recording so they can just troll me with changing colors in the background. Because I feel like that's the kind of thing that patrons would do. And it just... yeah, it's a lot of fun. Ways to have people interact live with something is always a bit of fun.
Hey, what do you got printing back there?
This is all Toys for Tots stuff. So we've got, which way's my head needing? My head needs to go this way. So all the 3 prints you see there are running the exact same file for IC3D Toys for Tots. There was a print on that 4th printer back there, but I had to take it off because it is protected, so it had to come off the build plate and get ready to be shipped out to the client. But yeah, just some volunteer work right now. We have a couple of paid jobs, but they can wait a rest of the afternoon, or at least until we're done to get them rolling.
And is that a signed Prusa printer behind you?
That is a signed Prusa, and it is also clear coated because I didn't want
can't screw that up.
I didn't want to screw it up. Yeah, so it's the one that looks just slightly shinier than the others.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
Well, I saw on Reddit, if you put in the comments, can Joseph sign the printer, he'll sign the printer.
Oh, really?
And lo and behold, printer showed up signed.
That's awesome.
I know
it's actually just some guy on the factory. It's like, yeah, sure.
I don't know, but I believe Maker Faire Orlando is still planned.
When's that?
I think that is, it might be happening in November. I'm not certain. I will have to check. But if so, I believe Joseph is planning to be there. And if that's the case, I'm going to bring out a mini, maybe a couple of other things for him to sign just for kicks. But yeah.
That's fun. That is real. And I see you're a fellow Aquanet fan back there.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. You can see it way back there.
Sitting right there next to some of my FDM printers off to the side here.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Big Aquanet fan. Oh, apparently it is November 13th through the 14th in Orlando. So Maybe
Awesome.
we'll have to make
By the way,
trip.
if you're hearing slamming, that's my kids are upstairs playing video games, which is why to this day I still record all my videos late at night when everybody's sleeping versus during the day.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that does
All you
this.
hear is yelling and stomping, and then me yelling at them. I just need 5 minutes. Can you please be quiet?
Or for me, it's when I'm filming and the cat gets up.
Oh.
So we have the stunt double because we used to get comments of, why do you have an empty cat bed in your videos? Well,
Yeah.
it's because the cat's not always here. So, of course, we have, you know, the stunt double. But if the cat gets up in the middle of a video, I have to cut. But then there's a continuity error because you come back and then there's a fake cat sitting there. But yeah,
I've always wondered how closely anyone's watching for those things, because in a lot of cases, most of my videos, I don't script out anything. I just on the fly.
oh good. I'm glad I'm not. When I was at the 3D printing industry event, everyone there's like, oh yeah, we scripted all of our videos. I'm like, I feel like an amateur. I don't script out anything.
I can't. I know in my mind, I'm like, man, if I just sat down and spent 30 minutes scripting out the video, then it would save me exponentially more time when it comes to editing the video. But instead, I prefer to still just stand up here and spitfire whatever it is I'm going to talk about in the video. And it seemed like in my mind, I have a rough idea of what I want to say, but then I just end up saying it 4,000 different ways. And then where I was getting to is I was like, oh, I wonder if anybody really notices, because I'll film the video on one day and then I'll go back and reshoot the video, portions of the video, because I didn't like how, said certain things or just segments didn't work well. So I'll go back and reshoot parts. And I'm like, anybody notice like I've clearly wasn't like, I still had the beard, but it was like not groomed and shaved. And the next time it was very nicely groomed and shaved. It was like, or I got a haircut. It's like, I don't know if anybody's going to notice these things, but sure, I'll just put it in there. At least I slap back on the same t-shirt though, typically.
Yes, sometimes I have to go back like, all right, what shirt was I wearing? And I'm going to give a little insight. The Print Fail Friday videos that we do, a lot of times I have filmed 30 or 40 of them at once. And then we will use them throughout the next couple of weeks. Maybe I'll add in a new one or two. But if I forget what shirt I'm wearing, I have to go back and like, all right, what was I wearing? Let me see what I was wearing last week so I can put on the exact same thing. But because I just record my desktop, the date is right under my image. So if you look for the date, you can figure out how quickly we're recording and editing video. Because I know you record and edit video pretty quickly too.
I try to, but it's nowhere near as fast as I'd like it to be. It still takes me hours upon hours to edit even a quick video. It's obscene. Yeah, it's really obscene how much time is sucked into it. My wife's like, you should hire a video editor. And I was like, nah.
See, I went the opposite way.
I feel like that's like the next level of amaze. Like, I'm not there yet.
I don't know how to video edit. So since day one, we've had a video editor, and I'm going to learn because I eventually do want to do it myself, but it's like, that's a lot. I know it's a lot. And like for a professional editor, it's like 3 or 4 hours to edit 35 minutes worth of video.
Let me tell you, for anybody that's, thinking or maybe you're starting a YouTube channel and think I need to spend all this money on software and everything. No. Don't. Like, use whatever is either on your phone or free software on your computer. Yeah, Resolve is a great option as well. Just to get in there and start editing and learning some of the basics of the software. I used iMovie for like the first 3 years of my channel before I broke down and bought Adobe Premiere. And now I'm finally looking at using Final Cut Pro on the Mac. And then everybody's saying I need to look at Resolve.
That's what I'm doing, because I don't know if I'm going to get to a skill level where I'm comfortable enough as an editor. And I don't want to start sinking money into Premiere. And I'm all Windows, so no Final Cut for me. But I don't want to be sinking money into Premiere for it not to work out. I'd rather sink time into Resolve. And then if I need to, if I ever have the desire to shoot 12K video, I guess I could pay for Resolve Pro. But Resolve free, literally free. And then Resolve Studio is $300 one time, which
That's not bad.
I've not made
Long
it
run, it's
a hidden thing. I really don't like subscription-based models, especially ones that are like $50 a month for the entire Adobe suite. Now, of course, it is a write-off for us, but still,
that's
you know.
me. That's I was gonna say the only reason why I think I've been continuing to use Premiere for the longest time is because I'm paying for that Adobe Cloud subscription.
I paid
I do
for it. I'm gonna use it.
Photoshop, I do use Photoshop a good bit
Mm-hmm.
for like thumbnails, Illustrator a good bit here and there, not nearly as much as I used to. Lightroom I use almost daily now. That's like something that I've heavily worked into my social media posting rotation. So
Okay.
anytime you see me post a photo, it's not a real photo. It's like it's a doctored photo where I've gone in and created profiles, color profiles, and tried to make it look as snappy as possible for the gram, as the kids say.
I mean, look, if we posted unfiltered things constantly, we might have a bit of a rough time there.
I mean, yeah, whatever. It's all fun. It's all fun. Hey,
We're
can
pulling
we?
the veil off the YouTube.
I know. Speaking of, can we talk about how you and I met in
Oh
person
man.
recently? Well, mostly recently.
Yeah. I mean, we've only ever met once, and it was complete and utter happenstance. It was at a sushi restaurant in Lutz, Florida, just about 25-30 minutes north of Tampa. And
Completely random. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to be in Lutz, Florida,
yeah,
randomly, and this day and time. Do you want to go grab some sushi?
and we were sat right next to each other, and I spent more time than I cared to admit being like, all right, I am fairly certain he is next to me. Let me see. Is he in Florida? Let's go to Twitter. All right, he is in Florida. Okay, but it's not impossible to have a doppelganger. I literally have an identical twin, so it's not impossible to have a doppelganger.
And I think I was like 30 minutes away from there, 20, 30 minutes away from that location, because we were going to visit my wife's girlfriend who moved down to Florida. And that's like her favorite sushi place. So she was like, oh, let's go out to grab some sushi.
It is also my favorite sushi place for reference.
So random.
Bangkok Sushi in Lutz, Florida. I will give them a shout out. Their food is amazing.
But it was so funny afterwards. Like we got back to the car and my wife's girlfriend, who I've known for a very long time, she was like, "You're famous."
And like to put into perspective of how little I go to this restaurant. One, I don't ever leave the house, but two, I only go there for shots and sushi. Because I go to my doctor where I get epidural shots for my back. And then I'm like, I just had someone stick a needle in my spine. I want to get some sushi. So I just had an injection that day, and we were there getting sushi. So I did have a community question, which is, what is your favorite sushi?
Oh man.
Since that is how we met.
I'm a pretty basic white dude, so anything like a crispy roll, anything spicy, crispy in a roll is my basically anything my wife tells me to get, I'll end up eating that. So I think I ended up getting like is it Thai food there as well?
Yeah, they have Thai food as well.
I think I got pad Thai there at the restaurant. I don't think I might have had some of my wife's sushi, but yeah. That was such a random fun thing.
It really was.
Yeah.
And I had a camera with me because I'm like, normally we'll do a little B-roll of the food, but I'm like, I don't want to bother this guy. He's totally with family.
Totally should have. Yeah, and what's funny? We got back to the car and we were driving away. My wife's like, you should have taken a picture. And I was like, God dang it, we totally should have taken a picture.
I've never met anybody that's like adjacent in the industry, both as a content creator, and saying we're adjacent as content creators is definitely not giving you enough credit there, but especially as 3D printing people as well.
Yeah.
I'm normally the one that gets recognized for, oh, you're the dude from the 3D printing stuff. I'm like, yes. My name's Grant.
it's such a fun random thing that can occur, and it's it's not that it's happened a lot with me, but it's happened once at the airport here in Rochester, where I was waiting to take a flight to New York City, and some guy walked by and was like, "Uncle Jesse." It was like 6 in the morning.
Who's calling my name?
I'm in business attire. And then there's been a few times at the grocery store, another with my wife, which was funny because I was like, see, this does randomly happen. And then which is always interesting, is we were at this was maybe a year or two ago, at a toy store while they still had those at the local mall. And I was with my kids, and my son was like, wait, how does he know you?
Yeah, there's this website called YouTube, and
that's not that you're obsessed with. Your dad makes videos on there.
Yeah, I get recognized mostly for my business cards because they're made of wood. We have a laser, so like, why pay somebody else? They're like, you're the guy with the wood business card. I'm like, yep. Yeah, do you remember what I do? No.
I would say one of the last coolest events that I went to was the last New York City Maker Faire, which was 2 years ago.
2019, probably.
Yeah, that and the God, now I can't even remember what the name of it was. There was like the East Coast Earth was I went to, the very first one, and was such a blast getting to randomly meet all these people that I've interacted with online, different social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it may be, YouTube comments, and I've watched their contents or seen their posts, and actually getting to meet these people in real life is such a fun experience. And I was like, man, there needs to just be more of these events. And obviously the past year or two have been a little hard for that.
Yeah, some things changed. And of course, you're tested famous as well from New York Comic-Con.
Let me just tell you, that was like the coolest thing that I got to do. One, I was going to Comic-Con, was able to go to Comic-Con to just go and hang out and record and shoot stuff to post online. And then was able to get in touch with the folks over at Tested, and they're like, yeah, we want you to come by and send us some progress updates as I was building my cosplay. And we want you to have Adam do like an interview with you and show off your costume and how you made it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And it was
now you know what it's like when your fans see you out in public. It was you with Adam Savage.
And it was so funny is I can remember getting done with that interview and being like, oh my gosh, that was a train wreck. I was like, can I reshoot that with them? Like, oh, this is a reason why I can't do my videos all in one take. But thankfully, there are so many really good edits in that video that they posted.
That is what sets apart a good team from a bad one, is how you can edit out the BS.
Yeah, I was like, anytime you see them cut away from us and are showing close-ups or other footage, it's like,
something happened.
Probably something me going, I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, I mean, I think it was obvious when Adam started running the channel on his own during the rough times, if you will. When they were not doing a dime of editing, where Adam's a regular guy too. We've had the pleasure of talking with him. We never actually were able to work with him. But I've spoken with Adam a couple of times on the phone many moons ago, and I always laugh because Adam blew the top off of one of the largest NDAs that we had, and now I get to talk about the work that we did for the Smithsonian because Adam Savage blew the NDA.
Was that the door, the space shuttle door? Was that
no, we did a bunch of skulls for them.
Oh, yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, full color sandstone, but the Smithsonian is so particular, and they have these machines themselves. Theirs were down, so we are the Smithsonian certified backup printer, which is pretty cool. I just get a credit card number and I'm told to work as much as I want, and they'll tell me when to stop. They don't care how much work I do, just bill them when we're done. Favorite client ever. Also, it fulfills that whole geek thing. Yeah, but they found us. And that's the only time I've said, I'm sorry, I don't believe you, I need you to email me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm someone. Where's Ashton Kutcher? Where are the cameras? Am I being punked? Ooh, that dates me a little bit. There are some people in our chat that don't get that reference. And yeah, she's like, I understand. Let me shoot you an email real quick. But we did a bunch of skulls. And it was the History of Man exhibit. And we did 95 sets of skulls total. And they were being sent out to public libraries across the nation, because if little Timmy drops the 3D printed skull, it's like $300 or $400. Yeah. If little Timmy drops the real one, well, little Timmy is going to disappear.
That's right. Yeah, that's a priceless piece there.
I don't think they're going to let a kid touch it anyways, but you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was definitely an interesting way that we met, and I laugh because it wasn't because of you that I asked the question. It was because we were able to find a photo with your wife in it, and I'm like, okay, that's her. I couldn't guarantee that it was you because my knowledge of you is effectively from like mid chest up.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what the rest of you looks like.
I was like, wait a minute, where'd you find it? I was like, Facebook. Where did you find the picture? Oh yeah, I forgot on my Facebook profile. And anybody that doesn't know, on Facebook, I have an Uncle Jessy account, but I rarely ever use it.
It's a pain to post into groups with your personal accounts or private accounts.
Swap it. So I just use my personal account and almost all of my Facebook groups, and I'm in like a bazillion Facebook groups, 3D printing ones, and by the way, my wife no longer uses Facebook, but will log into mine, and she's like, I'm really annoyed when I go into your Facebook. She's like, all I see is like 3D printing. Where's your sister on your nieces and nephews? It's like, oh, sorry.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It just means they have to get into 3D printing too.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and then I was like, you've met my wife. I was like, very few people have actually met my wife. She's like, I don't want to be on any of the videos. I don't want to be in this. Don't post me online.
I am getting Amber warmed up to being on video. She's still a little hesitant because of course women on the internet are not always very nice, but I love the one video that she was in that we got weird comments on. It was all about the fact that she's short. She's like, can someone get her a step stool, please? There was like 5 or 6 comments on there. And then and we had a good laugh about it. It wasn't like some of the really, odd questions that you might get.
Yeah, I can only imagine what it's like for especially some of the other female creators out there that are online must get some.
We got a question from the comments from Mad Monkey Makes Jordan. I'd like to ask if we're going to have any more Clayton and Pond videos this fall. He wants to see what fish you can get out of that thing.
Let's see. It's actually, the pond looks great. It's been raining nonstop, so the pond looks great. I posted a video on TikTok this spring, I think, or maybe the beginning of summer, about my pond, not 3D printing related, where I put blue dye into the pond. It's just water dye to help kill off a bunch of the algae or prevent it from coming, and it didn't work that well. But that blew up like crazy, and I still get posts that are like, hey, can you do a follow-up? Hey, can you do a follow-up? Hey, can you do a follow-up on this? But yeah, a few years ago, for those of you who aren't aware, we used to have a trampoline in our backyard, and a big huge windstorm came. We had I had 3 60-pound sandbags on the legs, and it just grabbed the trampoline,
what sandbags,
and threw it into the pond. So I made a video, I think 2 years ago, about me using an inflatable boat and going out into the pond, tying it up with some rope, and it's like the winter time, it's freezing, and then hooking it up to my truck that I used to have and pulling it out of the pond. But actually, I have a dolly that's in the other room that I used to bring a big 3D printer over here, and I fished that out of the pond one year.
Oh, you got a dolly, so you got a free dolly.
Yeah, out of that pond.
That's a success to me.
I usually just get garbage out of the pond, so that's usually, actually, that's what I should do for the open seas.
Yeah, we've been thinking about what to do with that as well. Like, I've got a bunch of fish tanks. Do I do something dumb like put 3D prints of the fish tanks for the video for some B-roll?
I haven't watched Angus's video, but I have a feeling it's like covering. so initially I went in and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Like, this sounds great. I'm going to do this project. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, how am I going to record a video about either a bunch of plastic that's bad for the environment or a bunch of resin, which is bad for the environment? And so I'm like, I was like, I don't know what to do with this now. Not
Yeah,
exactly recyclable.
I think Angus did a decent job, but yeah, it's one of those, so, like, we have a whole bit, the resin is toxic bit, because I want to hammer it into people's heads that I don't care if it says water washable. It is not drain compatible.
No.
And I'm like, I don't know if I can. And then it's like, okay, Angus's video was all about like PLA not being biodegradable. So how can I follow that? Like, I've got plastic parts in fish tanks. I've got 3D printed parts inside of fish tanks. We've got one that holds one of our large lilies down with a big base on it, but it's buried. I've got covers over the weir overflow system in the tank, and those need to be periodically replaced because they're PETG. They absorb water and they start to break down. But I thought it might be cool to like go to a recycling center, except my recycling centers don't accept 3D printed parts, so can't do that either.
Mine accept 3D printers. I don't know about 3D printed parts because I've dropped off a bunch of old 3D printers there, my recycling center, which is amazing to have. That's great to hear that you have one as well. I wasn't even aware. There's one not too far from where I live, and it's amazing to be able to drive through. And it's like, all right, here's all the cardboard. Here's these huge things of styrofoam that came with this printer. So I can bring it there to have it properly recycled. Or here's an old, way busted 3D printer that I've salvaged parts from, but now I'm just left with a frame. What can I do with?
I've got a Mars like that. It's my half a Mars. My OG Mars, just like you brought out your OG Photon.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I'm glad to hear that you're also shouting from the rooftops that water washable resin doesn't mean you can just pour it down the drain. Yeah. I refuse at this point to, like, if I'm printing with that, I treat it as if it's just any regular resin. Yep. I clean it in isopropyl alcohol, and that's it. So I we have some in to test
for a video, and I want to test the differences because of your videos, that bucket back there's got mean green in it. Now that's an Anycubic wash and cure that doesn't work anymore. It's going to get a Arduino upgrade, but my wash and cure plus, the big one, also has mean green in it.
By the way, that's what I almost put my foot in when I was before everybody was listening. I sat down. I'm at my table that I typically record at, and below me is the huge Anycubic wash and cure plus. The top's not on, and the huge bucket of resin
that will fit an entire foot, no problem.
I'll put my foot right inside that bucket of IPA.
I haven't. So IPA just got easier to get locally, and so I stocked up. I've got like 6 or 7 liters, but I'm like, oh, that's right. That wash and cure plus is 8 liters. But I figured I'm going to turn the small one into IPA only, and the big one will stay mean green, because...
I was going to say you could... Oh, yeah, you could stick with that. I was going to say I have now more than a few wash and cure stations, sadly. But my big one from Anycubic, it looks disgusting. Like, if you watch my most recent video, it's horrible, because that's my dirty bucket of IPA, which I'm going to be filtering out soon. But then I have 2 other smaller containers of clear IPA that I'll transfer and sort of work my way through. So it gets most of the gunk off in this big one, and then thoroughly clean it in the other ones.
One of the recommendations that came from the Lychee people, actually in the last live stream that we did, was have a bucket, an empty bucket, and use a spray bottle with IPA, but for God's sakes, wear some sort of respiration, because otherwise you're going to start coughing pretty bad, and it's going to burn your nose and lungs and all that. But that'll get the bulk of the resin off, and then that's all effectively waste IPA anyways. And then you can put it into your cyclonic style wash and cure stations, because then you don't
not a bad idea, actually,
get it sopped up too quickly.
I mean, that's typically what I'll do with any of the larger resin 3D prints, is like if I'm trying to print a helmet or something like that, is I have a spray bottle of denatured alcohol, and I'll spray it with that first before then running it in either mean green or a bucket of IPA if I have it.
And now that it's easier to find, I don't know. I just
Oh
like the
man, for a
fact that
little while there.
if I forget to shut the top to the mean green, it's not going to be gone by morning.
I mean, for a little while there, a year or so ago, I was like, man, this is going to get really dicey here with my my IPA. I was like, I need to
How
really
do I ration it?
Yeah, you really need to.
All right, you get 3 milliliters of IPA. Don't waste it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it got dicey too, and then you put out the video testing all the other chemicals, and I'm like, yes, I could still get mean green for $5 a gallon.
Yeah, I mean, I still use, out of everything, I still use mean green in my ultrasonic cleaner, the spray bottle of denatured alcohol, and then in all of the wash and cure units, I just run IPA in there. And then I always have a big bottle of IPA sitting on my table just because I'm spilling resin on the table here or on those silicone mats, and I just need stuff to help clean it up.
Those mats are so nice. They're so nice.
The
slap plates.
Yeah, I still can't get like I still have some really fine pieces of cured resin on there that I just can't fully get off, and I'm trying to figure out a way that I can more easily get those off. I was going to take a pressure washer to it and see what happens.
I mean, as long as it's cured, that's
it's all cured. It's all cured resin at this point.
Yeah, I mean, so our shelves, I have plywood on them. So it's like, resin gets on it. It is what it is. And then I cure it with very, very, very high powered UV LEDs, and then a handheld 1.5 watt UV laser to make sure that we're really getting into the wood. That way there's not raw resin that's soaked into the wood. And eventually it just becomes non-porous as you cure enough resin. It makes it a nice flat top surface.
It certainly helps to have some good quality UV lights when working with resin. That's for sure. Did you see? I can't remember. Was it Frozen? I think that came out with it's like I usually have a little flashlight here. It looked like a powered multi LED light unit that you can stick inside your prints to cure them. And I want to say it's like $30 to $50.
And we just use a little 3mm LED with some really thin wires, and we stick it up through the drain holes. I make sure my drain holes are at least 4mm. They fit up in there, and I keep it on for 20-30 minutes, run it off a 5-volt battery bank, and done. And yes, it is frozen.
I just have a little flashlight that I'll just shine into the holes. I don't know. I feel like is that a little bit of over engineering on that, or a little? It
would technically work, but it won't get like around a curve, right? Because the light's only going to go in effectively a straight path. It's not going to curve around something unless you move it very, very quickly.
Yeah, by the way, tomorrow's video is sponsored by Frozen, and we're going to be showing off the new UV. Sorry, Frozen, if you guys are listening. I do love the Sonic Mega 8K. I just don't know about that UV light thing.
Hey, we all can't do everything right every single time, right?
No, no, not at all.
And it's a question that maybe you've answered before, and I know that we have some viewers that don't know. Where does the name Uncle Jessy come from? Okay,
let me take you all back. I think 18 years now. I had it was even longer than that. Once upon a time I used to have long hair. It used to stem from my niece, who was much younger, called me that from Full House, because I think she must have been watching it, and that's who she knew had long hair. And then I can't remember why I ended up using that. It was originally my Xbox handle, and it still is my Xbox handle, my gamer tag, that I've just used for years and years and years and years. And then this channel, Uncle Jessy channel, if you go back and watch my initial videos, they're all Xbox videos. They're all Xbox fitness videos and other things like that. And then it so slowly started working its way into 3D printing. And I had a whole nother channel that was just all about making things. So I was doing Pepakura helmets and showing how to do DIY cosplay stuff. Yeah, and I mean that's what I was doing well before I got into 3D printing. And then once I heard about 3D printing, I was like, I need to get one of those. So, and that's just sort of how it grew. And I don't know why exactly I did it, but I decided to start posting. I got my first 3D printer and started posting videos on the Uncle Jessy account versus my other account, which was just under my name. So it was one of those weird little things that just kind of spawned and went going with it. And now I've just kind of stuck with the whole Uncle Jessy thing there.
I like it, right? Because so many people, when they find out your real name or even my real name, right?
It's fun. It's especially on like the Facebook groups when I'll post something like I'll post
Uncle Jessy did that. I'm like, yes, I am Uncle Jessy.
Like, oh, here's something I'm working on. They're like, you didn't post that. Like, that's clearly Uncle Jesse's background. I was like, yeah, that's right. that's our. Or my favorite is like I'll usually do the Star-Lord Who thing from Guardians of the Galaxy, where he's like, he goes, who?
I've seen that because every now and then I find myself on Facebook. It's not often, but every now and then I do. And like my personal account, I do nothing with. It's all like posting through the company. But I put into the 3D printing Facebook groups, hey, we're gonna be hanging out today. And then I got a message like, are you the guy that yells into his microphone a lot? I said, God, is this the brand I've created for myself? Because I don't want to be. I am the guy that yelled about cricket, but I don't want to be the guy that keeps yelling into his microphone about it.
Like a proper business sounding name. I just finally set up an LLC for myself for all sorts of business reasons and liability reasons and whatnot. And I put it on just under Uncle Jessy LLC because I was gonna do like, I don't know, upstate 3D printers or something not under Uncle Jessy. And then I was like watching YouTube videos and somebody was like, if you have a branded name, you best put it under your branded name because someone else could come in and just grab up that branded. Someone else could grab Uncle Jessy LLC and then I'd be kind of screwed. So
I mean, it's true.
Very state by state or something like that anyways.
It does. And, let's say someone got it in New York. You could just go make a Delaware LLC and be done with it. But, you could also still have upstate 3D printing as the parent company if you really wanted with like Uncle Jessy Media as as the media brand, if you will.
But it's just so funny putting, like, I've had to fill out a few forms now and it's like Uncle Jessy LLC and the person is looking at the forms like, what is this? I'm like, well, let me try and explain what this is.
Well, we get it too. They're like 3D Musketeers, huh? I'm like, yep. Halloween's my favorite time of the year because I get to buy a bunch of 3 Musketeers bars, put D's on them and hand them out to people. When we had a retail business, which, we actually started this as a retail business. Boy, was that a mistake. Retail 3D printing is not great. Can't recommend that. Thankfully, we got out of it at the right time. But we used to have a bucket of the candy bars so that, we had some monicum of branding.
Hey, that makes sense. And it ties in perfectly well with you. So.
And, then they would ask, oh, well, where's D'Artagnan? Hilariously, they didn't know our big full color 3D printer is named D'Artagnan. Like, it's a networked printer under D'Artagnan. So I'm like, it's D'Artagnan. You want to go meet D'Artagnan? I'd take him into the full color room because it's a 1,200 pound, 6 foot long machine. It's a big machine. And it has presence, right? And they're like, oh, cool. I'm like, okay, let's get out of here now because there's like gallons of super glue in this room. The catalyst for full color is super glue, and you're able to make, and yes, this is actually a client of ours, you're able to make really beautiful parts. So I tell people we've worked with everyone from the Smithsonian to Snoop Dogg.
That's amazing. There's now there was a kiosk that I saw at my local mall that, no one was there, but they had it was like behind cases, the same kind of 3D prints. And they're like, hey, you can set up an appointment and we'll 3D scan you or your loved ones. And then you have a takeaway. I was like, man, pretty cool idea. I don't know how profitable that would be to have set up and running, but it's that's a pretty cool business opportunity, I would think, especially for something like that.
If you ever want to play around, I've got a spare full color printer that I'm selling. They're 70 grand brand new. So
I'm aware they're
a little expense in there.
Yeah. How expensive is the material that it works? Is it in the powder?
It is. Yeah, it's sandstone. It's gypsum powder basically. Retail is about $40 a pound.
And how does that actually print the materials?
It is an inkjet printer. It uses HP C4810A inkjet heads. They're black inkjet heads, and it's got cyan, magenta, yellow, black, and clear, which is white because the powder's white. And it's literally an inkjet printer, but instead of layers of paper, it's layers of powder. There's no support material because the powder supports everything around it. So it's a great way for we used to get in paleontology interns from the local college, because you literally have to use brushes to dust the parts off. I'd get really weird looks going into Ulta saying, I need your softest brush.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be like, oh, do you now, sir? Giving me some winks. And I'm like, no, it's not. You know what? Actually, just say it's a weird thing, because if I tell you what it is, it's just going to raise more questions. Just assume it's for a kinky thing, and we're just going to move on.
And I need all of them. I need all of them.
Yeah, eventually they're like, oh, hey, you need more brushes? I'm like, yeah, I need more brushes. But like, I learned how to pan for gold with those machines, because you got to get out all the excess ink that breaks away when you're using brushes. So you got to pan the powder. I'm like, oh, I know how to pan for gold now. And I know how to make my own super glue. I used to carry a chemical handling license to buy in the raw materials to create cyanoacrylate. And that's when I made both myself and a Marine cry when we made the wrong formula and smoked out the whole shop.
Oh my goodness.
We just decided that was a good day to just call it an early day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I got started. You got started with resin printing, or how did you get started in this industry?
Oh, let's see. I mean, I had some background, at least knowledge in 3D printing, just from actually where I first really heard about it was the Replica Prop forum, which is
okay.
When everybody used to go on forums and message boards.
What are those?
I think it's still around. At some point I just migrated over to Reddit, and I've like live and breathe on Reddit these days.
Same.
But
yeah,
because I used to do Pepakura stuff, and before then I always wanted to make my own Magneto helmet, and so I found out about Pepakura stuff, so I got into that and working with Bondo and sanding and Bondo and more Bondo and sanding, and found out about 3D printers from people posting on those sites, and I was like, oh my god, I need to get one of those. And then I used to work in the fashion industry, the fashion tech industry. So I worked for a very long time in that space. And one of our customers at the time was interested in, they were creating 3D designs, and they were starting to build their own 3D printed prototypes of buckles and buttons versus having those shipped, the design sent overseas, made and produced and shipped back to them. Cut severely, extremely cut down the time it took to prototype anything. And I'm trying to remember which printers they had there. But well, anyways, for this event, we ended up getting a Makerbot Mini.
Oh no.
And then subsequently I was like, man, I got to get this printer. So I bought one. So I got a Makerbot Mini. That was my very first FDM. That was my very first 3D printer. And that's what I started posting about on my YouTube channel, years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, or 5 years ago. Geez Louise, I can't remember when that was. But it like quickly evolved from, all right, I've got the Mini and I can do really small things, to I need something bigger. So I ended up getting a crazy good deal, like an Amazon Lightning deal on a BQ Wit box. And I loved that machine for quite a while, until I had a few other machines, and then bought a CR10 after seeing that. Why am I forgetting his name? Who used to make YouTube videos and is on Twitter still, living in New York City. man, why I can't remember his name. I want to say it was Travis, but it wasn't Travis. So, anyways, I ended up getting one of those after seeing his in person. I was like, oh my god, it's like less than $500. I got to buy one of these things. So that got me hooked, and then into the resin thing. Like a few years later, Anycubic sent over the Photon, and I didn't like it. Like I just didn't like it. Was too like it's just a different workflow. If you're coming from FDM to resin, it's a completely different workflow.
Yeah.
Ports, and I think at the time,
was it Preston of Press Reset? The comments are asking.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was press. Okay. It was Preston Press Reset. Yeah. So at the time, when I wanted to do like supports or print anything, you had to use Anycubic's software, which was horrible, and it was so slow, and it was a pain to work with. And
thanks, Lychee Slicer.
Yeah, leveling the build plate was an absolute pain on that machine. Yep. And I don't know. I did some videos on it, and then I just kind of set it aside and didn't care about it. And then I received an Elgu Mars, and that sort of completely changed my mindset on Resin 3 print, because it was a night and day difference between the workflow and how it was to work with that machine. I think that machine had the first build of Chitu Box, maybe. So I was using that, and it was still easier. It was like it crashed all the time, but it was still performed so much better than the Anycubic software.
Right.
And so it was.
But has it gotten better over the years?
Yeah, very questionable. Very questionable. So we're talking right now. I got the new MacBook Pro. I splurged. It's been like 4 years since I got a new computer. So I bought a new MacBook Pro. It's the pimped out one here for video editing, which, by the way, I posted the video yesterday. It was an 8-minute 4K video. It exported that video in, I think, it was like just under 3 minutes it took to actually export the video.
Holy crap.
My old laptop, that was like 40 minutes plus, maybe.
Yeah, that's nuts.
It was insane. I'm texting my buddy, and I was like, this is going so fast. I was like, I think this is going to get done in under 3 minutes. I was like, it's already done. I was like, this is crazy. And then I think it took another 30-40 minutes for it to actually upload to YouTube.
I recently did something similar. Let me grab it, because I didn't get a laptop, but I replaced my entire motherboard, RAM, and CPU. This is the old computer.
Okay.
So I went from a 4770K vintage 2014 to a 10500, which is, I don't know, vintage last year or the year prior. And I big beefy knock to a cooler because
I keep saying I'm going to build my own PC. I haven't had a PC in a very long time, and I keep saying I want to build one for just for different apps that I want to use, like some of the different 3D apps I've heard run a lot better on PCs versus Mac.
Now's not the right time if you want a GPU. No. But I will tell you, the motherboard, CPU, and RAM that I bought, less than $400. I already had the GPU. I had a 1080 Ti from the old build. And I kept the case, kept the power supply. I just literally did a heart transplant, and it went reasonably smoothly.
What I really want to get into is VR, and VR gaming. For a minute, doesn't know, I play video games a lot. Like almost every night, I'm playing with some of my.
What's your favorite game?
Right now, I'm still taking my time with Red Dead 2.
Okay,
and then I like do one mission an evening. That's it. So I limit I've really stretched this game out as far as possible, taking my time with it. I play a lot of Apex Legends online, and then right now I'm really excited. Forza, the new Forza is coming out. Horizon's coming out, and then Battlefield 2021. Well, I can't remember what it's
some year number.
New modern Battlefield.
I'm Battlefield, huge
modern Battlefield fan. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Bad Company, amazing, like peak memories of my gaming experience, well, outside of Halo and things like that. So very excited, very excited that. But I really want to get into VR. I mean, partially for the gaming, but more for a lot of the 3D stuff. So I've seen people do some really wild things with 3D modeling in VR, and
I want to do 3D sculpting in VR, and I'm like,
there's actually a guy on TikTok that that I follow, and I apologize, I can't remember what his username is, but is posting a lot recently of him using, I think it's an Oculus Quest to do 3R. He's just doing doodling in VR. And I was like, man, can I export that and try and print some of those things? It looks like it'd be really fun to try out and play around with.
Well, when it does come time and you want to build a PC, we are not a Linus Tech Tips, but I can give you a hand as best I can.
Thanks. I was like, you know what? I'll just go to Costco and buy whatever's on the shelf there.
It is more fun to like custom build it. Then you can do a stream.
I know.
I mean, there's a stream there too. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to stream this. The old PC is really old, and the chances of things like not going smoothly are pretty high. Because, you know, I kept all the old drives too, so I'm like, I'm just gonna plug everything in and see if it boots. It may not booted fine.
It's funny when you said, you know, you can stream it. Is that remembering a conversation that I had with Joel Telling like 2 years ago or something like that, and can't remember exactly what we were talking about, but he was like, whatever you're doing is basically an opportunity for you to be creating content. Around it. It's like think of it as a content opportunity. So now when I'm working on almost anything, I'm recording, and I'm might not necessarily be talking into the camera and all that stuff, but I have the camera set up and I'm recording me putting something together or unboxing something. And then I have footage of it. Will I ever use it and make it into a video? I don't know. There's probably like a 70% chance it won't ever see the light of day, but it's at least there. And then again, this is where now the short form content is, I think,
so much easier.
It's so much easier to start. Hey, I just got this new laptop. Let me quickly unbox it and show it off. I'm not doing that one, but there's, you know, it's just a lot more opportunity to quickly make content and pump it out there.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to, you know, it's just it's a fun way, a fun new way to get stuff out there. And obviously it's a lot more easily digestible for people to sit through and watch.
And before we get too far away from the origins, Mad Monkey Makes wanted me, because he has my personal Discord, he DM'd me saying, hey, do me a favor, I want to thank Uncle Jessy. He put in the comments, I found Uncle Jessy because of the Pepakura. Is it Pepakura or Pepakura?
I say Pepakura, but okay. I mispronounce things all the time. So
then he saw the CR10 and went, wait, what? Found Joel, then the rabbit hole, and here he is now. I mean, he just won the E3D contest for the tool changer that he stole from Bob. Yeah. Bob was robbed. There's a whole joke to that. It's not. It's it's an inside joke. Don't worry about it.
My original CR10 is sitting down on the ground over there. I keep saying I'm going to make a new video on that, just showing it off, you know, years and years later.
I made a mistake. So like I've been in the industry since 2008, right? My first big printer was the full color sandstone ones. My first commercially bought printer that I didn't build. Oh, this is embarrassing. The Solid Doodle Press.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually on the standing set. It is all the way. It is effectively the end side of the frame on my left side. That's where the printer lives. Cause I'm like, I'm not going to give it to somebody. It's garbage, but I don't want to just throw it away. It's got meaning to me.
Yeah. That's how I feel about my Makerbot Mini. I've got it. I'm not throwing it away. I've thrown away a good number of, I give away, by the way, I give away
maker spaces locally.
I give away a lot of my machines. However, there are some that are just not worth the hassle. I'd feel bad just giving it to someone and be like, hey, you can try and figure this out. But
it has my like Makerbot 3 stepper motors in it. You can use that, right? Here, take it.
Yeah. I refuse to get rid of that thing, and I keep joking I'm gonna like bronze dip it or something, just so I can have it as a keepsake and use it for what? I don't know.
A trophy, you know, where you started and where you're at kind of deal.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
I feel similarly. I'm bummed because, like, you know, the first Mandels and rep wraps that I built, I don't have them anymore, right? They were terrible. They were made with like threaded rods and salvaged stepper motors from 2D printers, and they used ABS filament that was 3 millimeters, and it was so bad. It was so bad.
I can remember with my Makerbot Mini, which, by the way, okay, so I give Makerbot lots of crap, and the Mini lots of crap, and it's
Everybody does. You're not alone.
it's justified. The thing, it doesn't print very well at all. I'm surprised it didn't put me off entirely from printing. However, that machine had some amazing built-in functions that I still wish today machines had. I could wirelessly send from my computer files to the machine. This was 4 years ago. Easily. It was really easy to send files wirelessly to machine. They had a mobile app that I could monitor my 3D print. It had a built-in camera. So in the app, it was really intuitive.
It was like
easy to use.
Octoprint, but built in.
Well. Yes. And it showed me the print, gave me a little text alert if the print paused or something happened, filament ran out, or the print was done. I loved that. Absolutely loved that. And it required little to no setup, which I thought was amazing. I don't run Octoprint because I still think it's so utterly complex and time consuming. I've gone to go, I'm like, all right, I've ordered all the stuff. Let me sit down and watch this 1.5 hour long video on how to set up Octoprint. It's like, yeah, I'm not doing this.
We have one printer on Octoprint. It's our time-lapse printer, right? Because
that's exact. I really want to set it up just for FDM time lapses, and I just haven't got around to it.
Well, I can tell you, I'm using a Sony Alpha 100 as my DSLR that I bought brand new in 2006.
Okay.
So you can do it too. Now, I did have to bring on somebody to help me do it because it is effectively just raw code programming, but Octolapse is amazing. I will say, boy howdy, do you catch a lot of flack when your prints aren't dead perfect on time lapses. What people don't realize is because of how old that camera is, it moves away to take the photo, and it waits about anywhere between 3 and 5 seconds for the camera to trigger. The hot end is hot at that point. Oozing is, there's no way not to have it happen. So like one side of the print always has some scarring on it.
I think this is, I'm gonna give myself an Andrew Sink a little shout out here. So we made Resin Lapse, our cable for Resin 3D printers to capture time lapses, and my big requirement was I do not want this to be complicated. I want this to be as simple as possible. And I've had lots of people who were like, "Hey, you could just do this with Octolapse." I was like, "Yeah, I probably could," but I was like,
a photo sensor.
I was like, here's one cable. I plug it into the camera and I plug it in the printer. It's like, it's done. It's like, that took all of like 30 seconds to do. But we were initially so over engineering and so overthinking that project when we were getting it up and running. And it was so fun at the beginning of the year. We were doing Google Hangouts and like just sitting back here. I was back here ripping apart Resin 3 printers, and he's like, all right, you need to cut this wire. I'm going to show you how to solder this wire. I bought a soldering iron, like a nice soldering iron, and we're soldering wires together. We're trying to get it to trigger off certain maneuvers. And I was like, what if we just went off of the light switch, like the light source?
It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. If my camera could use Resin Lapse, I'd have one already, because we have 11 Resin 3D printers, and I'd love to time lapse them.
The problem, so there are other options. They're just not affordable options to, like, I feel I couldn't be like, hey, well, this other cable that we're going to have to solder to the photo sensor so that you can plug into your Sony camera or your Nikon. Oh, that's a extra $30 on top of the Resin Lapse. I was like,
they can adapt it, right? You can get the female connector.
We've already had some people, like Norm from Tested was like, hey, I rejigged this to work with whatever camera. I don't know what he has.
Well, that's what we did. I mean, and you can see there's a green LED right there. That's the relay. And I bought, because it's a 15-year-old DSLR camera. It doesn't film video, okay? 3 frames a second photos does not film video. 10.2 megapixels. Yeah. So we're making it work. But how to use a relay, because a MOSFET does not bring it down to ground as quickly and as effectively as a relay. It works.
It's yeah, there's some other fun things that we've been playing around with it to see what, like, how else we could use that in other situations. So we're, I think, still monkeying around with it a bit, but it was such a fun project to put together. I mean, just to see how many people we've had like hundreds of people order this, where it was initially we were like, we might have like 100 people max buy one of these things. So it'd be a pretty fun project for us to work on. And it was like the first weekend we put out the video, I think we blew through our whole supply of cables. It's like, all right, we need to order more. We need to order more.
I saw it and I said, oh man, if I buy one of these, does that give me rights to buy a new camera? And I'm like, no, Grant, no. Let the YouTube monetization pay for the new camera. Okay, fine.
Hey, okay, let me tell you guys, I'll bring back up TikTok here for a second here. There are other people on TikTok, other people that are making 3D printing videos that are much bigger than I am, like much bigger audience, that I'm assuming there's a funding option through TikTok where they'll pay you for the amount of views people are watching, how many times they watch. It's, similar to YouTube. You don't need, I think the minimum is 1,000 or 10,000 followers for it to kick in. I'm trying to remember what it was. But over time, you can make some serious change, enough that it paid for almost all of this laptop.
Look at that.
So, yeah, and that's within this less than 1 year. So I'm pretty damn happy with that. And I'm telling you, that's probably the #1 place to jump on and start creating and sharing content. I mean, you don't need to be a YouTuber. You don't need fancy camera. You don't need lights, crazy, anything like that.
You need a phone.
Just start making, just use your phone and start making content about what you're printing and what you're going through and what you're seeing or what you've ordered or anything, and make it fun and enjoyable, and slap some music on there that you see that it's on the trending section of the app, and you're good to go. Add some fun text and overlays on there, and it's a blast. So
it is something that we made a TikTok account. I'm like, I'll get to it eventually, and now I'm like, shit, fine.
And literally some of the most viewed videos are things that I've spent like a minute and a half on, and it's insane. Where versus I'm I've done some content that is shot with my DSLR and properly edited and sound mixed and all this other stuff for TikTok just to test it out, and I've spent so much more time. I was like, oh, let's see if better audio and better visuals really helps drive in more view, and it does not. Like, it definitely does not. So
what phone are you using on TikTok? Is it just your regular cell phone?
I am using my cell phone. However, I posted on Twitter recently about it, and I was like, hey, what's a good app that I can have better control over the aperture and color and all that on my phone versus just the auto settings?
Yeah.
Filmic Pro, which was, I think, $14, and it is amazing how well I'm able to adjust the color and brightness and contrast of my videos as I'm about to record them. So in this room here on my phone, everything looks really yellow for some reason. So I was able to actually on my camera here, it's a lot more yellow than, like, my skin tone. It just looks really yellow to me. And so I'm able to adjust that and add a little bit more blue to it and bump the contrast and adjust some of those other things. And I just record that. And then it's programmed in. So now every time I record, I just do that. And then I've got one for a setting for this room. I've got one for outside, because sometimes I like to record outside of my basement area. And then I've got another room over here that I use for a lot of my resin printers that I have. It's a different set of lights over there. So I have a different setting for that. But it works well. And then other times I just use my phone. So just use the regular phone, the phone camera. I mean, when I was down in Florida, I was recording a ton of TikTok videos while down visiting my dad. And it helps when there's good natural lighting out. But I'm in the basement.
We got okay down here is the natural light.
Yeah. Here I've got one window in this room. That's my main recording printing room. And I'll open that up when I'm doing a lot of the resin stuff here as well to help with the fumes.
2 windows right behind me, so can't do that. Like without I've got 2 studio lights in here. If I turn them off, it's real bad. It's real bad. So yep, a lot of artificial light in here.
And by the way, speaking of, I'll also throw this up that anybody asked, but the lights that I use for my videos in this little space here are 3 lights that I picked up off of Amazon that I think were $70. It was like a light kit that I bought 4 years ago, and I've replaced 1 bulb. That's it. I've replaced 1 bulb in 4 years.
You use the umbrellas, right?
Yes, I use the big umbrellas. Yep. And it's like a big, you know, what's it called? Luma Studio, not Luma Studio, Photo Studio or something like that. Yeah.
And they're the are they the big CFL squiggly bulbs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Huge. Yeah. And so I ended up, when 1 went, I ended up buying like 4 of them off Amazon. So it's like, all right, I don't ever run out of these things again.
We just put soft boxes on the live set, and I'll give a shout out to our patrons for that. And yep, shameless plug. If you want to support us, patreon.com/3D Musketeers. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video as well. Subscribe if you aren't, and all those good things. But yeah, dude, those soft boxes. Oh man, and very similar to the umbrellas, but I said I'm gonna get the LEDs because it's an unair conditioned garage in Florida, so the most amount of reducing heat possible is worth every penny to me. Yes. That will be the next big upgrade, and that's my thing. Do I get a new camera, or do I get air conditioning? And it's funny that you got a lot of your, you know, your first kind of experience with 3D printing from Press Reset, because here's the camera that he originally used. Here's the microphone that he originally used.
Right. He used to do like tons of fire sales.
And there's his lav mic. Yeah. When he moved from the West Coast back to New York, I bought the RX0, the DR05, and the DR10L. And I don't use the RX0 all that much because we're using DJI cameras now. But the RX0, it's Sony's version of a GoPro, and boy howdy is that thing bulletproof. Yeah, we use these little tiny things.
Oh, nice.
Which are it's a DJI Mavic but handheld. Yeah, a lot of fun for these. And with me, because I use a cane, slap a 4th axis on it, and it looks like I actually know what I'm doing. Which is like amazing. Like, you know, just a little 4th axis, like, oh yeah, he actually knows what he's doing now. Even if he's, you know, I filmed some walking content the other day. We were at a plant sale. I'm trying to do more vlog content for the channel and all that. And I'm like, oh, let me try out the 4th axis because, you know, I have a cane in one hand. Yeah, it's buttery smooth. It's buttery smooth.
That's great.
Yeah, gimbals are a lot of fun. And yes, Tarzan013 is asking if this is the mic and camera on the new MacBook. Yes.
It is.
Yes.
We were just talking about that before I jumped on. I was like, oh, let me go grab I've got my blue Yeti here that I use for any of my old, when I used to do podcasts regularly, would use for that, and then just some headphones to listen to. And yeah, it sounds good. And yeah, that's the camera, the new webcam that's built into it.
It's really nice. And so what was, and I think I might know the answer to this, but this was a community question. What is your all-time favorite character to cosplay?
Oh man. I mean, it's obviously gonna be Magneto.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but I think it's circumstantial.
Let me say when I went to that New York Comic Con and so did that huge Magneto project, and then I also one day went as Peter B. Parker from Into the Spider-Verse, and that was the most comfortable cosplay costume because it was sweatpants, the Spider-Man like spandex or whatever that is shirt, and then a green jacket, like a green sort of trench coat, and then I just had a pair of Converse and a pair of boots on, shoes on one boot and a boot on the other, and I had to put a little insole in it so they kind of evened out. It was so comfortable to wear throughout the
versus Magneto, where you've got the cape on. And...
Yeah, Magneto, I'm sweating my ass off with the helmet on and all the gear on, and I had made for that, and I have never posted the video, and I keep saying I'm going to edit it and post it. I ended up making a 3D printed foam chest piece, like chest and ab set, so it looked like I was a little bit more muscular underneath the spandex. And so I made a 3D printed mold and then filled it with this liquid foam material, so that and I pressed it so that it fully filled it out, and then I was able to wear it like underneath the spandex, so it looked like I had bigger pecs and abs and stuff like that.
I want to find a good cosplay that works with the long hair, because as soon as my back is fixed, we're shaving my head for charity, and we're gonna do that live. We're gonna shave it for Make-A-Wish. We have a Make-A-Wish recipient on staff, and he is 16 years old, and he is going to be shaving my head, and I am not in the least bit concerned about that. But I want to do a cosplay with the long hair before it goes away, because this is over a year, and I don't want to do this again.
I'm trying to think who you should go for.
I'm told Florida man. Always Florida man.
Oh my goodness. That is too funny.
But yeah, I don't know of like any long hair cosplays that exist that aren't gender benders. I mean, I could do a gender bender, but I don't have the womanly figure.
I'll have to think about it. Who you could do. I'm sure there's plenty of options if you just sit down and think about it. I mean, afterwards you could always do
oh my, I just got a message. Flynn Rider from Tangled.
Bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
That was the girlfriend, so I think she's already made up her mind as to what I'm gonna cosplay.
So are you gonna buzz it, or are you going like full shaved?
So hopefully I can get it long enough to where we can donate it. If it's like, oh, I gotta wait a couple of more months, we'll wait a couple of more months to donate it for a wig. But then we're gonna take it to like a 2 or a 3, and then he's gonna come in with a 0, and the top donors will get to decide what goes on my head, and we're gonna dye what's left of it too. I'll leave it on for a couple of days so that I can film, we'll film channel videos with it where it's like, I will never be able to live this down. And then we're going to go full Mr. Clean and then let it just grow back in. So, and I said, for the right amount of money, you can make me look like a child too. I look, it's all going to go to charity. I don't care. It all grows back. So it is what it is. It'll be fun.
I told my wife this year, I was like, you know what? This year I'm going to shave my beard off. I haven't shaved off my beard since I was like, my youngest son is 6. And I think I've had the beard the entire time he's been alive. So I was like, I think I'm going to shave off the beard this year. And I still haven't gotten around to it. I was like,
I should do the dude.
Maybe next year. Do the what?
The dude from the Big Lebowski.
That's a perfect one.
It is about the dude length right now. Damn it. That'd be easy too.
Yeah.
That would be
funny. You just need a big robe.
Yeah. Now, what is the character that you are dying to cosplay in the future?
Oh man, that's a very good one. I would love to do a variation of Wolverine at some point. I'm trying to think of. I feel like I'm too old. The Invincible cartoon came out, and I was a huge, like when it first came out, I was reading I used to read comics religiously. I've way slowed down over the past probably 4 years, but read that whole run originally, and I would have loved to have done some sort of cosplay as Mark from Invincible, but I'm like, I'm more Omni-Man now than Mark from Invincible. I feel like I've aged out of that.
Shave the beard and you'll probably be all right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There's some really fun ones that are out there. Another one is that I've always enjoyed from the comics is Cyclops, but not the normal Cyclops. It's the Cyclops from I'm trying to remember what series it was called, where he basically has a big X on his forehead, where his sort of his visor,
right?
Where they're hunting the mutants. I mean, they're always hunting mutants now, but it's like there's no more mutants. It was after the whole Wanda no more mutants thing. Man, I'm trying to remember what the heck that was called. Well, anyways, I always thought that costume was really cool. I was like, man, I would love to be able to try and make something like that. But with the Wolverine one, I really want to focus on, I have a cool cowl file that I want to see if I can mod slightly so it's a little bit more flexible. And I still have yet to 3D print Wolverine claws. I have Wolverine claws that I've bought. I've made my own Wolverine claws from some Halloween store
Those are the
Wolverine
easiest
claws.
things to 3D print for a cosplay, man. But
I
could
know.
you do it in the style of that katana where they will, you know, come out and
Oh
do
yeah, like
something
the
to eject
flexible.
them?
Man,
Like
those
that's the
files are
trick.
so fucking cool. Those katana, like those swords, are so awesome to print and play with. The lightsaber ones, I still have those in my over by my desk in the other room. I'm trying to think of other stuff that I would. I've got a helmet here that I've been meaning to finish now for a year. So this is the Nova
Oh, it's
helmet.
beautiful.
This
Yeah.
was modeled by the Broken Nerd. This is all resin. This was one big resin 3D print.
Oh my.
You can still see all the drain holes.
Yeah.
Right? So
Because
yeah,
the walls were so thick, you made it hollow.
yeah, and I didn't sand. The only place that if I remember right, it was around the nose area and the bottom where the supports were. Along the sides, you can see even the, I don't know, this probably won't show up there, but you can see some of the layer lines.
Yeah,
There
I mean that's with a part that big, that's going to be typical.
Yeah,
There's a lot
but
of peel force involved.
It would be easy enough to sand, but it was one of these that I was like, man, I would love to do a full cosplay of this as well. There's just so many cool characters out there that it's very time consuming as well. I love making all the props. It's the finishing that's the problem. I can print them all. It's the time that it takes to finish most of them. And actually, one that I just did that I was showing off on TikTok that I'll be posting on YouTube next week. This is a Snake Eyes helmet.
Yes, I saw the visor for that on Twitter.
Yeah, so I printed the whole helmet. This is all resin. This whole thing is resin, other than the little plugs that hold the visor in, or PLA.
Yeah.
And it was so easy to, like, there were some really bad issues on the top of the helmet here where it just screwed up printing, and was able to just almost perfectly sand that smooth. There's still some filling that I need to do here, but I needed to get it painted and finished for a deadline. But I love how easy it was to work with this with resin. It was like, all right, I can crank this out in no time versus spending days on days sanding and filling and priming and sanding and filling and priming PLA or PG prints.
That is really the big deal. And you know, I got to thank you, because that resin and cornstarch / baby powder video you did really helped us out on a couple of projects. We're like, yeah, this is 11 pieces. I'm like, but if we made it 13, it would be a lot easier to print. But that means we have 13 lines to fill. I'm like, oh, but Uncle Jesse just released a video today that's going to make that so much easier for us.
Awesome.
It was so awesome.
It works so well.
How did you come upon that?
No, I think someone left a comment, and I'd done a video right before then about the resin smoothing. So another YouTuber, Galactic Armory, who does all Star Wars related things, made a video, and he was like, yeah, so I'm making this helmet, and I'm using a little bit of resin here and then I cure it, and then I sand it smooth. I was like, wait, what? He just sort of like glossed over
printing for so long, and I've never thought of this.
I glossed over this one point. I was like, I'm sorry, what? I have to try this. Like, this is insane. And so I made a whole video on that. And I'm pretty sure someone left a comment in that video. It was like, hey, you need to mix, what was it? Resin and cornstarch and super glue together to make it like a weldable.
Yeah, that was with the UV laser. We use so I was using this before Gloop existed. Once my gallon is done, I will start buying Gloop, but I buy gallons of methylene chloride, and you have to use syringes for it. These are blunt tip needles, don't worry. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just grab a syringe, grab a needle, and yep, injected it right into it. We found the right mixture that worked for us, so we could get it that right consistency. Injected it into the seam, smoothed it out with gloves, quickly followed behind with the laser, and it was just, it was so good. That made, like, I had Bondo ready, I had my little palette ready.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was so nice. Now, of course, tomorrow is your favorite holiday.
Yeah.
Halloween. What are you dressing up as? Are you doing Snake Eyes?
So no, I'm not. I'm not really dressing up too much. It's going to be raining here, so we're still trying to figure out what the plans are going to be for the kids. And funny enough, my kids, like my oldest son, wanted to be the Grim Reaper and just wanted a costume from Walmart. Didn't want anything crazy. My youngest son, though, I printed some cat ears that I found off Prusa printers for him because he wanted to be Pete the Cat, a kid's book. So printed that, and then I've got a video that I'm trying to release later today. I'll probably be wearing this, which is a pumpkin mask that I've printed and I designed. So I in the video, I show off how you can 3D scan your face, and then you can bring it into your iPad or other Android phone or tablet or whatever it is, and 3D model it in Nomad Sculpt to make your own mask. And then printed this, and then so I printed one in resin and then one in PLA as well. So it's just like a pumpkin, a very basic, nothing too crazy, but a little mask. So I want to show people how you can start making your own masks very easily with very little to no skills, because my design skills are absolutely horrible. So
well, and that's why
I'm looking to try and expand on, but it's a great way to start, and it's easy enough to use.
I know we both love him, and he's actually in the comments right now. Wexter is hanging out with us. Fotis was hanging out with us earlier. He's gone, but Wexter's actually hanging out with us, and I think the cornstarch and resin got him. Yeah. Oh yeah. He loves that.
Here's his Carnage Mask here.
Oh, so nice.
Actually, I think I've got his. I printed. I want to say. I've got to print his pumpkin one. I printed most of his face mask files.
Because they're just so darn good.
Yeah, the one from last year still might be my favorite one. It was kind of like a rotten skull looking one. God, I loved that one. It was so creepy looking. And then use the same 3D Nomad Sculpt that to use a 3D scan and shape it to my head so that it fit, once it printed, that it fit perfectly on there. And by the way, if you have resin prints, don't put those directly on your face.
Yeah,
if they're clear, coat them in something. So this is coated in a clear
resin is toxic.
Here's this one right here. I'm like holding it up to my face. I haven't sprayed anything on this one, so I'm like holding it up.
Viably, if it's not sticky, if it's not tacky on the outside surface, it should be fine. But
it should be.
But I'm not a guy that plays on the should market when it comes to my face.
This thing, it's like, so it's cured, it's ready to go. But if I'm walking around and sweating with this on, I don't want even the remote chance of getting some sort of a reaction.
Have you seen what happens?
Yeah, I've had some of it happen.
Okay.
It's not as bad as I've seen online, where it's like people's skin's boiling and nasty like that. But I had just over the summer, I wasn't wearing socks in my workshop, and a piece of a drop of resin went between my toes.
Oh.
And I woke up in the morning and I was like, where did I get that blister from? And it's the only thing I could think of is it must have been a drop of resin that fell on my foot. I just didn't notice it or feel it burn, for that matter.
Well, Wexter is actually crediting you with putting him into the mask business, because it was the first collab that he did was a mask with you, and that's what started the whole thing. So there you go, man.
That's right.
There you go. And
oh my goodness,
why is it the shift to resin? Because of like how much easier it is to post process, or because it seems though you really moved a lot away from the FDM, at least on the creation side.
I still print a lot of FDM things, but it's mostly for like Etsy and other things like that. I don't sell a lot of resin things. I have, and it hasn't worked out very well, just from things breaking and shipping. And I was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm not going to do this for right now until I decide to start mixing it with some more durable stuff. But for me, the resin side, it's one that the print quality is obviously just night and day difference from what I can get on an FDM 3D printer. The print times are typically drastically faster for me to print things.
Yep.
So when it comes to making content, from YouTube and whatnot, time is essential for me to be able to print as many things as I can.
Yep.
So if I'm doing a printer review, I love doing a resin printer review because I can typically do like 10 things in just a few days and show that off, versus an FDM printer, I might have to do weeks of printing to be able to get the same results. And then, like you said, the post-processing, it's a lot of cases, I don't finish any of them. I might prime them and that's it. And then just let them sit there. But if I did want to paint them, it's just, it retains the detail a lot better. I don't have to worry about, paint seeping into the the folds of the filament or anything like that. It's just
exacerbating any minor issues the filament printer had, Yeah.
But
it's like primer's great.
The flip side of it is obviously it's a lot more messy to work with. I go through so many gloves, so many disposable gloves, and I try to reuse as many as I can. So I buy oversized disposable gloves so I can try and pull them off and reuse them a whole bunch of times. I go through paper towels like crazy to clean up any sort of mess and to dry off prints, isopropyl alcohol. It's just a lot more. There's a lot more things involved to post-process your prints. And I feel like there's just more tools involved with even getting the prints going. Like I need a small spatula, I need a heavy spatula, I need a sharp spatula to get prints off. I need stuff to clean the prints. I need stuff to clean my vat. It's a different workflow, but I think that it's evolved very quickly is what's got me very excited about it. And the prices have significantly dropped in a lot of cases. So I can remember not that long ago where I was spending, I want to say $60 plus for a liter of resin. And now typically it's like $30 to $40 for the same bottle of resin, which is great. And that was just a few years ago.
And then Soraya Tech does BOGO sales and I spend too much money and now I've got like 30 liters of resin.
Have you seen the huge 5? I think it's 5 liters.
Yep. They recently did a buy 1 liter of resin, get a free liter of fast white. I might have bought like that. It was only on their website.
God dang it. I love their white resin because I will dye it. I'll just use, it's the perfect resin to just, all right, I'll make my own color and use some of the alcohol inks. Oh, that's a good deal. I missed that. I can't believe it.
So it ended up being like, 16, 17 a liter. And I'm like, all right, well, let's wait for the accountant to call me. Let's start spending some money. It was in, I've only bought resin when Soraya Tech has sales. And I am not like a pure Soraya Tech guy, but God, they make some good resin. We had Synthetic Ephemera Aura on last week, and she's like, yep, I am all Soraya Tech because it just freaking works.
It's easy to print with. It's pretty affordable. The only resin of theirs that I have a hard time with, like most of them, is blue. Blue irritates the crap out of me. So I try very rarely to, I have to have like all windows open. I have to have fans going. It just, my skin starts to feel it's not even touching me. It's open and I'm working with it. That's the only resin that I had not so great of an experience with, but it works. It's phenomenal to print with.
Yes. It is. And I remember back when Elegoo first announced the Mars, and they're like, yeah, if you pre-order it, it'll be $200. I'm like, oh man, Prusa just dropped the SL1. Do I want 7 Elegoo Marses or do I want an SL1 kit? And we only started making videos in March of this year. Like, that's it. That's when I first started like taking this stuff seriously. And I'm like, oh, I'd rather have 7 individual printers. I know the SL1 is going to be a good printer, but I'd rather have 7. And I ended up buying 9 total, and I still have 1 brand new in the box because I can't kill them.
You're on par with the exact video I wanted to make, which was I was going to buy an SL1S because I saw, what's it? Tom put out a video.
A lot of the guys did it. Tom did it. Joel did it.
Yeah. And I saw Practical Printing. I was messaging with him before all those videos went out, because I did my Mars 3 video and I was like, this thing prints so fast. I can't believe how fast. That's like my favorite Resin 3D printer, just because it prints stupidly fast.
Yep.
And print results look great. And then he was like, "Hey,
Prusa
send me
has
the
entered
stuff
the
that you were."
chat.
He was like, "Send me," which is Wexter. He's like, "Send me those the Magneto files." He's like, "I want to print that and compare it to yours." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." So, we were doing speed tests, and his was like, it was a good bit faster than what was going on. And now I'm like, all right, do I want to buy an SL1S? It's like $2,000 just to make some videos around. I was like, I know I'll use it. Like I'll definitely use them.
It is a write-off, right? It's a marketing expense, but yes, I mean,
I'll use the machine, but that was the exact idea. I was like, is it worth, 8 other 3D printers? So is it better? Is it more effective? Like, are the print results that much better than what you'd get off of I don't think they're going to be drastically,
especially if you're using Prusa Slicer for everything, which back in the day, up until I found Lychee Slicer, and to this day I still get flack on that Lychee Slicer video. They're like, your emotions are fake. They paid you for this video. I'm like, no, they legitimately did not pay me for this video. Now, after the video, they reached out and they hooked it up with a free pro license. But no, I had never known about Lychee Slicer, and I did a video on it, like a first look video, and it blew my mind. And I still use Prusa Slicer because I firmly believe Prusa Slicer's hollowing algorithm is better. And Prusa Slicer will export hollowed and drilled models, so I can just take those into Lychee Slicer to do the supports.
There's some funky stuff though. Like I still Prusa Slicer, like it runs great. I rarely use it, so I've got a Prusa Mini that I've had some challenges with. It prints like 70% of the time it prints properly. The other 30% it's a pain in my rear end.
We got to get on a call because I've been helping out people with theirs. And
well, you know what's funny is someone I saw on there was like a Prusa Mini Facebook group. They're like, I was like, I'm using like I saw someone mention you gotta use alcohol wipes. I'm using alcohol wipes. The other's like, no, you have to use 90% on the bed. After every print, use 90% to clean the bed, and then it'll stick. So I've been doing that and getting a lot better results. But I was like, this is literally the only 3D printer that I have to clean the bed every single time to get it to work properly.
I don't use alcohol and so we have 8 Mark III S's. We have 4 minis. I've got there's a Taz 6 up there. There's a Fusion 3 F410 over there. Then there's some random printers that we bought for the channel. But an 11 resin printers total. But every single print, when I'm done, clean off the plate, scrape it down, make sure everything's off it. Windex, ammonia Windex, every single print, and I only use the smooth sheets. I don't like their textured sheets. They work great for flexibles, right? Yeah. So when I showed you my cane handle when we met, that was done on a textured sheet. That way the texture doesn't, or the TPU doesn't weld itself to the PEI. But otherwise, dude, I as I'm heating it up, spritz, paper towel, and I'll reuse the same paper towel for months. It's blue at this point.
I'll have to try it out. I mean, I don't know.
IPA does work, but and Creality says it damages their beds. I don't know, but on their carbon silicone, the little black dotty beds that they have on their glass, I'm told by Creality that it damages the beds to use alcohol on them. But the reason they say over 90% is because the 70% stuff can carry ethanol in it, and ethanol will damage the beds. Alcohol is totally fine, but ethanol will.
Maybe that makes sense. I'm just thinking, I don't clean almost any of my beds.
Hey, look, it's like one of those, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is what I've been doing for years. I'm sure I don't have to clean the Prusa beds. But it's just, it's like back in the day, that's why you see that can of Aquanet back there, because when I had
I still have one printer I have one printer that I reliably use Aquanet on, and I'll get awesome prints off it, but every time I'm like,
Yep.
I was like, all right, there we go. Good to go.
I'll never forget. It happened at least once a week when we had the retail business. We'd have some people come in, and you could tell the wife or the significant other, the woman or women in the group would be like, "What's that smell? It seems so familiar." And then they'd start, Aqua, they still make that? I used to go through bottles of that stuff back in the 80s. They'd reminisce on the smell. It's so crazy how a smell can trigger that memory for them.
Yeah, it definitely has a distinct smell, that's for sure.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. I mean, so that's good. So you've never used an SL1S then?
No. The only Prusa machine I have is the Mini. I pre-ordered that like the day it was announced, and I got one of the, I think the first batches. They were kind enough to replace mine mid last year, after it was just nonstop. I was able to get a whole bunch of prints, and then it just more or less stopped working. It was grinding through filament like crazy.
Those bone tubes are really
clogging, nonstop clogging. And people are online like, oh, you should only be using Prusa mint on this machine. I was like, get the F out of here.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's not how this works.
That's not. I was like, let me tell you how all these 3D printers work. I have filament. I'm going to load it into that machine, and it better work. I'll adjust the temperature until it gets it just right. But I was like, I'm not going to only buy this certain filament for this one machine. I was like, no, that's not how this
is good material, but man, it gets pricey over time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I really want to, I'm probably going to order some of their resin just to try it out, but God dang, is it expensive?
Is it like 60 a liter or something like that?
Yeah.
I figure every Black Friday, historically, they've done free shipping. I'm like, all right, maybe. Right. And right at the end of this Prusa Live, they were teasing some announcements, and I'm like, I want me an XL. And see, this is my podcast, so now I don't get kicked out for saying when's the XL coming.
I've been asking that since the New York Maker Faire. I was like, so when are we gonna get a like Creality sized, like a CR10 sized Prusa? I was like, because then I'll buy. I heard those the Mark III, supposedly amazing. I
love mine.
I was like, I'm not gonna bother with it. I'll wait until a much larger one comes out. And then they announced the Mini, and I was like, you know what? That's not a bad price point. I'm gonna jump in on it and check that one out.
Yeah, I mean, sub $500. I've got one Mini that blows. It continually destroys run out sensors. Don't know why. But I'm like, all right, whatever. You don't get a runout sensor. It has blown 3 separate runout sensors. I'm sure it's something on the motherboard. And Prusa's been great, but I just don't want to take it offline. They're like, whenever you want, we'll just replace the motherboard on it. I'm like, yeah, the next time I make an order, just throw it in with that order. I don't need you guys paying shipping to get it over to me.
One thing Repcord Pooch told me about at the first Earth. I think they borrowed one of my printers or something like that, and it had a filament runout sensor, and they just cut a little piece of filament and shoved it into the sensor, and then just directly fed the filament in. And now on almost every single printer that I have that has a filament runout sensor, that's all I do because I love the filament runout sensor, and at the same time, I hate fiddling with getting the filaments through them. So I just either disconnect them or just shove a piece of filament in there and call it a day and hope that I don't run out.
On the Mark IIIs, it is integrated into the extruder, and it is amazing. It has saved my bacon so many times to the point of I just don't care anymore. I know that this spool here is not going to last. It's got 1 turn left, and that's it. I don't care.
Yeah.
It will trigger. It will wait, and I'll take care of it on my schedule. And because you've had some issues with power lately. We've got a big battery backup on all of these machines. This wall can run for about 26, 27 hours on battery. And on this side of the wall, this is where all the resin printers are all on this side of the wall. The FDM is all on this side, or on the other side. And the resin should be able to run for 12 or 13 hours on battery, no problem.
Great, man. I Thankfully, when there's only one time within the past year where the power went out, and it was like 8 hours. I think we were out of power.
Yep.
Normally, it's only like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours at the most. Funny enough, twice this year, no, sorry, it was 3 times. Twice on this one street that I live by, someone hit a power line telephone pole, knocked out the power for everybody in the neighborhoods over here. And then on the same street twice. And then another time up the road when we were out for like 8 hours, someone hit a larger pole and knocked that out. And it was like the entire, this huge area was without power. And like you could use your cell phone to call, but there was no internet service or anything like that on your phone. And I took my boys, my wife, I can't remember where my wife was that day, but I took my boys, we went to McDonald's and sat in the parking lot and just, I had them bring their tablets and I sat on my phone.
McDonald's Wi-Fi.
I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Civilization, I'm back. We're in Florida, so we had a bad thunderstorm roll in one day, and it ruined a 36-hour print 30 hours into the build. And I said, nope. And that afternoon, I grabbed, and I grabbed one of my APCs. I grabbed the batteries at it, and I said, I'm going to get new batteries, and I'm going right now. Those batteries got us through Hurricane Irma. We printed straight through Hurricane Irma. And what we did is we had one machine that was like mission critical. We pulled that machine down. I brought a second battery bank in. And while the one bank was dying, I charged the other bank off of a car. So we were just constantly, and this was it's an APC with a hot swappable battery bank on it. So you can plug in a second one and then unplug the first one, and it just hot swaps. And,
how did you figure out how many machines you were able to run on those?
They tell you your power draw.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So that one's an APC 3000. It's a rack mounted. It's just sitting on a rack. And this is an APC 1500, which is a consumer grade. But I buy the old ones that are heavy. It'll be very clear when you find an old one that's heavy. You got to take the batteries out, but they've got big transformers in them because those have fans and they are designed to effectively run constantly. And they can handle it. These newer inverter style ones cannot handle like 12 hours, right? And their batteries don't handle it either. You have to get external battery packs from APC to do it. And that's what we ended up doing.
Great that you were able to get that and hold that in. I mean, that's pretty impressive through a storm.
It was a mission critical job for a client, and I'm not going to fail for them because of something that could be easily solved. Now I have a generator, or I did. We went to service it this summer and it is seized. So I don't have a generator anymore, but so far we've been okay. But yeah, it's the weird things in Florida, like, that's right, I have a service-based business. I got to prepare for that stuff.
I was going to say, any other questions that you wanted to get to? Because I need to wrap it up here in just a few minutes.
We had every time I interview people, they always ask, what is your daily hair routine? I asked Sanjay this, so I guess I got to ask you the same thing.
My daily hair routine is I take a shower. I don't use gel. I have a bunch of different products that I cycle through. I use right now, I'm trying to remember what the heck the name is called. I get it from Target and it has a skull on it, and I just can't remember what the name of it. It's like a pomade type stuff. It's like a fiber hair product that I'll put in there while it's still a little wet. And then I also use, I've been using this for years now, a little bit of Aquaphor, which is like skin lotion, skin cream. I put a little bit of that in my hair. It keeps my scalp from drying out. And then that's about it that I use. And then I just use some beard oil in here. A little bit of beard oil goes a long way everywhere.
Yeah, you got to do the beard oil. For sure. And then and I think this will be the final question. I think this is a good one to end on.
Yeah.
What are your best lessons learned, and what would you do if you needed to start over? Like, what would you do differently? What would you buy first?
In regards to what, like YouTube or 3D printing or
I
all
mean,
of
if you
it?
got time, both. You know, answer kind of on the 3D printing side, then on the YouTube side. I think it'd be
Yeah,
great for especially the young people out there.
on the 3D printing side, if I were to do it all over again, well, thankfully now, compared to when I got started, is when, consumer level, consumer grade, consumer options were just starting to really become available for 3D printers. And there weren't a lot of companies in the space. There was Ultimaker, and I was like, I'm not dropping $2,000 on a 3D printer. That's insane. I was like, well, let me drop $1,500 on this crappy Makerbot Mini. But I mean, thankfully, it's like the prices have continually are dropping. The technology's improving. So someone just now starting out is going to hopefully have a much better experience than I did when I first started. And I was still amazed and I still loved it. But what you can get now out of the machines is just so impressive. And it's, again, you now can do FDM printers, there's resin 3D printers. I would have never thought when I started this that resin 3D printing was even a thing, first of all, or that I'd be able to get my hands on one and use it and get the results that I'm getting. Or even when I got my first, the Photon or the Elgu Mars, I was like, oh, wow, this is like, it's so cool. I can print my own little statues and my own little miniatures and my own little this and that. I was like, it's never going to get bigger than this, right? And then we got some mid-sized machines, and then Piopoly's out there like, hey, forget that. Let's do some ginormous.
The XXL.
Yeah. Which, by the way, a fun little quick story. Saturday Night Live reached out and was the head. I apologize, I can't remember his name. Reached out to me asking about resin 3D printers and wanted a whole bunch of info on which machines they should go for doing the so they do a lot like casts of the actors' faces, or they need to print props and stuff like that. And he needs to be able to print something quickly and have it in good detail so that they can make molds and whatnot. So now they're 3D scanning their actors' heads, or they get like a movie star or whatever, 3D scanning them and then 3D printing and then making, like the nose pieces or hair pieces.
You don't need them there anymore.
Yeah, they don't have to sit for like however long it is, 2 hours with silicone all over their face. Yeah. They're able to just so they were able to pick up. I think they picked up a few Phenoms or Phenom L's, and then now they're looking at picking up a few other machines. But it's that's pretty wild. I mean, just from that whole space, it's all evolving and continuing to grow. I love seeing more and more companies getting into the space as well. I mean, Joel was just doing a video recently on that the young 16-year-old kid or 13-year-old kid or however old he was that was looking at starting up his own 3D printing company. People are building their own Vorons now, which I'm like, holy crap, do you see these things? There's
the whole YouTube craze where every creator did a Voron.
I was like, I heard about, I was like, I saw Tom building, I was like, what the hell is a Voron? I was like, what? I've never even heard of this before. And then there's one channel that I follow that just continually posts updates on it and is showing Benchy's printing at like in 3 minutes or something.
Stupid speeds. Yep. Like, the speedboat races.
I was like, what? And I was like, and that still looks better than a Benchy that I could print on my Makerbot.
Right.
It's just it's a wild space to be in, and it's a great time to be in it, and especially new people wanting to come into the space or just expanding on it. I think a lot of people that probably are watching you or watch my channel are already have a printer and know what it's like. It's semi-addicting getting these machines and upgrading them or building add-ons to them or printing add-ons to them. It's a wild thing that you can do. Or I have my fridge in our kitchen, the door doesn't close properly. So I'm looking at printing a little latch cover so that it'll properly snap into place on the fridge so that it'll catch properly. I was like, I wouldn't be able to do that without a 3D printer. I was like, and it's not going to be hard to do.
No.
So it's a fun little area for us all to be involved in, and the community is amazing. So it really helps, continually inspire people to make things and share things. I mean, you had Wexter in here and Fotis Mint in there. I'm a huge fan of their work and love printing and sharing basically everything that they run off and make. And there's so many amazing designers that are helping inspire the community to run out and print. There you go.
The Fotis Mini by Wexter. You know, because and I'm good friends with both of them. We hang out, you know, reasonably often, and it is just amazing to see that whole process from behind the scenes too. It really is.
I would say from the YouTube side of things, if I could do it all over again, I don't know, would I? No, I'm just. I mean, right now it's completely different. It's a different space. Obviously, I feel like if you're starting out, maybe you have already started out, maybe there's pressure that there's already so many people in here that I wouldn't be worried about that. When I got started, I was worried because Angus was already there and Tom was already there. And I was like, man, I can't make videos competing against these guys. That's crazy. And then here comes Joel rolls around. I was like,
Joel's like, get out of my way, scrubs. I'm coming in.
Made this awesome Destiny blaster. Look at this thing. It's amazing.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. And we were literally starting to make videos to answer some of the most common questions that we got. Literally. So when people would ask them, I could just send them the YouTube video, right? Yeah. And then I made a video calling out cricket, and we went from 50 to 300 subscribers in a week.
That's awesome.
Well, I can't ignore this. And the rest is literally history since then. And
that's awesome.
You know, we're not all that big. I think we're coming up on 2,400 maybe.
That's still very impressive. And you just recently started.
Yeah. And you know, I'm building a whole sector of the business designed for this. And I love it because we do this to help other people. Exactly. Right? The fact that we can make a couple of bucks on it, hey, that ain't bad. But you know, our main goal is to help and educate people, because if more people continue to wash their damn resin in their sinks, I will find them and I will go Liam Neeson on them.
The other thing I will say is don't be afraid to experiment.
Yes.
My channel started off as an Xbox fitness channel where I was doing Xbox. The original Xbox One had an app that I loved. You could use the Xbox Connect and do workout videos, and it would track you and tell you what you're doing right and wrong and how many calories and all this other stuff. And you could compete against people. I was like, I love this. It's awesome. And then they got rid of it. I was like, man, that sucks. And then I was making weekly Xbox videos for the Xbox subreddit, and Microsoft found out of it and like loved them. And it was all sort of fun stuff involved with that. And then I randomly started experimenting with posting 3D printing videos. I was like, whoa, these videos are doing a lot better than these other videos that I'm doing. Maybe I should start making more of these videos. So don't be afraid to play around with the content that you're making. I'm going to hopefully, fingers crossed here, start making some more non 3D printed, but still 3D related videos around other tech that's, you know, related to this industry. So whether it's, you know, different tools that you might be using or applications, but still somewhat related into the 3D space, but just expanding on what I'm doing and not just showing off, here's the newest 3D printer and here's what you can do with this 3D printer, but, you know, experimenting with some other fun things to see what kind of other audience members I can find and reach with that.
That's what it's all about. Well, look, I mean, I feel if you go ahead and plug all you want, but I feel like everybody knows you know. I mean, guys, if you don't know Uncle Jessy by now, honestly, what the hell are you doing here? Go over to his channel right now, hit that subscribe button, leave a like while you're over there. He just released a video all about last minute Halloween prints, and they are awesome. So if you need to give out some awesome stuff, I love the candy corn. I'm making one for my dad. Although I guess I just blew the top off that because my dad is probably watching the podcast, but that's okay.
This guy right here.
And the cards are awesome.
Oh my God, these guys are awesome. This little, it's going to be hard to see from this, but it's a little printable.
It picks it up perfectly.
Oh, nice. So easy to print. I think this one was 3 or 4 hours to print, and this is no joke, like an hour or less to print one of these. So yeah, really quick and fun, especially if you have kids. That'll be a fun thing for them to play with.
No kids, but I got a cat, and I think she'll love it just the same. But
all right.
Uncle Jesse, I appreciate you coming out, hanging out with us.
Well, next time I'm in Florida, we'll have to get together. Hopefully that'll be maybe even before the end of the year. I don't know. We're trying to figure out our plans here for the holidays.
Yeah.
But I'll let you know. Hey, thank you so much for having me on here. This was a blast. I can't believe we've been chatting now for, has it been 2 hours?
It has been.
My wife's been texting. She's like, are you still on?
15 seconds to 2 hours, my good sir. But seriously, I appreciate every second of that time. It's been a blast, you know, kind of getting to know the man behind Uncle Jesse a little bit further. And I hope everybody out there has enjoyed it as well. And do you know my outro?
No, I don't.
No. All right. Well, hey, stay safe out there, everybody. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome.